What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Stay Humble, Hustle Hard podcast, where we interview the men and women out there building this country one business at a time so you can learn how to get your hustle on. You know, each and every person has a message, and every message has a purpose. But here on the Stay Humble, Hustle Hard podcast, that message gets heard. So, joining us today, our hustler of the day, is a guy that has a name that I have trouble pronouncing. Telemkov, Ivaylo Telemkov, I believe is how you say it. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to bring him in here, and I'm gonna let him tell you for himself. Ula, I appreciate you joining us this morning. I hope you're having a blessed day. So what we're going to do is I'm going to send down the invite and get Mr. Telemkov, I think is how you say that, to come up in here and join us today. Okay, let's see. We gotta get him in here. Alright, so this guy that we got bringing on today is phenomenal when it comes to business, and you talk about ROIs and turnarounds. This man in 2015, took his family's business from $250,000 and did more than doubled that to over $500,000 in annual revenue. And I mean, I don't know about you, but that is mind-boggling. Can you imagine making $250,000 profit increase in 1 year? So we're definitely gonna have him talk about that when he's in here. So we got everybody joining in. There we go, buddy. You're in here. Okay. Now I want to all right, we're gonna get you in here. He says, invite me if you can. Okay, I am. I'm sending the invite now. Alright. Let's see here. Okay. Alright, bud. Yeah, alright, the invite is sent. Alright, so I've invited you to join the broadcast. Lauren, I appreciate you joining us this morning. We got Ula, we got Lauren. Let me see. He say, hey, buddy, I appreciate you for joining us in. Today, we have a phenomenal guest. This man is a humanitarian. He's a podcaster. He's worked with AT&T, several other companies, and he actually took his family's business from $250,000 a year and did more than doubled it. He took it up to over $500,000 a year in 1 year. So that's pretty impressive. And we're trying to get him in right now, having some technical difficulties actually bringing our guest in this morning. I've shot you the invite, brother. So you'll find that in your notifications. And if you are you on a phone? Or are you on a computer? Because if you're on a computer, you can't go live with me. You have to be on a phone. That's one of the things that when we discussed yesterday, I said that we'll be going live and you'll have your camera turned horizontally. That's what I meant. Is that so you need to be on your phone. You will not be able to join if you are on a laptop. So let me know down in the comments what's going on, brother. So he said you're on a phone. Okay, so it should be down near where you comment on the left side. You should see a green button that requests to join the broadcast. So I don't know why you're not seeing that. I've had technical difficulties in the past, but I sent in your notifications. I invited you to join the broadcast. Talk about a real hustler waiting for our guest. It'll be a good one. Yes, it will be. This man's going to knock it out of the park. He's got his own podcast. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to let him talk about that on here. But when it comes to ROIs, when it comes to turning businesses around, this man has got it. So let's see here, Mr. All right. All right, buddy, try it again. I just changed one of the settings, so hopefully that will. There we go. Bam! That's my man. You got it. All right, he's joining in now. All right, Mr. Telemkov, I think is what it is. I'm gonna have him pronounce that. What's up, buddy?
What's up, my man?
Hey, how you doing on this beautiful morning?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me here on the podcast. You know what was really strange is this that I usually get notifications to go live with someone, like it just pops up, and I didn't even get the option, and I in fact didn't get the option to even request to join the stream until like just literally like 2 seconds ago. So it must have been like an
Yeah.
unexpected delay or something on Facebook, and like I'm sitting here going like, what the hell is going on? Like, come on, just work, like work
Hey,
now.
I know how you feel, brother. I've been on quite a few of these little shows, and I'm telling you, I've had it happen several times. And you're
Yeah.
sitting there trying to strangle your phone or your computer, trying to get it going. But look, brother, before we get going, please tell everyone, how do you properly pronounce your name?
So my first name is Ivaylo and last name is Temelkov. Now, what's real
Okay.
interesting that you asked about my name is this that Ivaylo is my first full legal name. Like that is
Uh-huh.
what I was born with, and Ivan is my nickname. It's my American version, and you know there's a story behind that of how that came about. But you know I don't get offended when people butcher my name because there's a ton of people out there who have more difficult names than mine. So, in fact, I'm actually impressed when people try to pronounce my name, and especially when they get it right, because that just goes to show the initiative of like them actually trying to pronounce it. So, but it's
I
Ivaylo
got close.
Temelkov, and I recently, yeah, you did.
So where does it come from? What is that? I mean, what's the derivative of your name? Like, I mean, is that Italian or what is it?
It's actually Bulgarian. I was
Oh,
born in
okay.
Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, and my name actually, Ivaylo, was actually my grandfather's name was actually Ivan. That is like the Bulgarian version, Ivan. And so my parents named me or gave me a similar name after my grandfather, who actually passed away when my mom was 3 years old. So she never actually got to meet him. He passed away. And my grandmother actually remained a widow for the rest of her life because she really just loved the man so much. And so my parents wanted to name me after him, but not give me the name Ivan or Ivan for that matter, but something that was a resemblance of that because they wanted to commemorate him. And I, of course, didn't know this until like probably my 20s. Like I had no idea where my name, like, or how it even came about. So,
Yeah. That's something that I got very curious about as a child. But my
mhm.
name is near as cool as yours. If you actually look up the definition of my name, it means a sack that you carry things to leave home in. It's a Tucker sack. But
Yeah,
anyway, brother, let's get into this, man. Hey,
yeah,
I want to know. I want to know what you've obviously you shared a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up, but I want to know who is who are you? Like what? Where are you from? Like where
sure.
is Mister Temelkov? Is that right?
Tamelkov,
Was that
correct, correct.
Temelkov? Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
Success.
yeah, yeah,
All right, who is Mister Temelkov? Where you come from? What's your background?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, sure. So I was born in Ruse, Bulgaria. Ruse is a small town on the Danube River in Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, and it actually borderlines Romania. When I was younger, when we lived in Bulgaria, my father was actually a musician. He used to play the trombone in a classical music orchestra and used to travel a lot. And my mom used to travel with him as well. So it's one of those. Bulgaria is actually one of the oldest countries in Europe. It was established in 895. And so I was born there. I was raised for a good portion of my childhood. My father immigrated to the States in the early 90s. It was actually October of 1990 when he immigrated to the States. And this was just literally a man who decides to take a huge leap of faith because the country that I grew up in was communist. In fact, it was communist until I was 9 years old. So this was
Wow.
1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. You know, I remember not being able to celebrate the holidays, not being able to celebrate Christmas, not being able to celebrate New Year's because it was against the law. Basically, you could be arrested, you know, for celebrating the holidays. So, you know, with
Wow.
when the communism came down, was very fortunate because I could celebrate the holidays. And in fact, that is one of the biggest memories I have to this day is, the ability to celebrate holidays, the joy that it gives me, and not just the joy, but the celebration of family, the unity of family. So I was born in Rusa, Bulgaria. My father immigrated to the States in October of 1990. And then I later, with my sister and my mom, moved to the States in 1994. And as they say, kind of, the rest is history. Moved here. I was that 13, 14-year-old kid. It was actually 6 days before my 14th birthday. So that's why I
Wow.
say 13, 14 years old, moved here. And this was really, when my father made this leap, there were so many people that criticized him, literally. Just like a lot of people were giving him critique about, who are you to desert your family? I was young. Oh my God, I was 10 years old, when my father, so 1990, it's been 28 years now. In fact, my father actually just became an American citizen earlier this year by actually being able to
Well,
take his citizenship
congratulations,
test.
bud.
And yeah, thank you, thank you. It was
That's
it was it
awesome.
was such a blessing for him. So, he faced a lot of criticism from coworkers back home, friends, family. People thought that he was crazy, deserting his family and just moving across the pond, 3,000 miles away, with two little kids. But my father, the one thing I admire the most about my father, and this is something that now as a father too, of two kids that I hope I can share with my own kids, is just that the boldness, the courage that he had, because that is exactly what he did. Is he did it because he wanted to create a better life for us. He wanted to create more opportunities, and the reason he chose America is because the land of the free, man, the land of the free. I mean, this is where your dreams come true. America
Yes.
is the only country on this planet where you can be whatever you want to be. You can make your dreams a reality. And so that is what my father wanted, for us. And I didn't understand that, of course, until later in life, when I got older. It's like, why in the hell is my father moving 3,000 miles away and I have to talk to him on the phone for 3 years? I talked to my father on the phone for 3 years, about
Well,
while he was here because,
look,
say
we
that
got
again?
somebody. We actually, Ula says in the comments. She said, "I can relate." Apparently, she said, "I grew up in a communist and post-communist community." So, hey, Ula, if you don't mind, drop in the comments where that's
Hmm.
from. If y'all are feeling this so far, y'all are enjoying what you're seeing so far. Let me see some reactions. Let me see some hearts on the screen. Y'all interact with us. But look, man, it seems to me like your father really he that the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. He took that leap. He took that leap. He jumped off of the cliff and began building his airplane on the way down. But like I said, the apple didn't fall too far because you, being an entrepreneur, he must have instilled that in you a little bit, and you saw him take those risks, and it
Hmm.
must have pushed you to do what you're doing today. So I have to ask you, man,
Yep.
like, what is it? Did
Yep.
he start a business when he got here? Because I know your parents had a business, and tell us just a little bit about how you took their business from
Hmm.
$250,000 a year in annual revenue and more than doubled it to over $500,000 a year. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, to answer your first question, is I think my father had the entrepreneurial DNA from a very, very early age. His first business was actually in 1993 when he purchased a small local pizza joint here in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I've resided all this time. And what was really interesting is just that I think that my father had it in his DNA all along. He just didn't know it. It was one of those things is that he always wanted more, like he wanted to build something. My father's a very hands-on person. I'll get to that here in just a second. So his first business, actually was a crash and burn because the business was doing great. It was growing. In fact, he had one of the best lunches around town. like the best hand-tossed pizza, which I worked at the pizza joint when I was in high school, you know? So I was helping out. I got to learn the business, and like I was, you know, working with customers, you know, being at the cash register, you know, learning how to make pizzas and so on and so forth. So, and that was probably one of my earliest interactions, I think, of like really immersing myself in the business world. Now, the reason my father's pizza business actually failed is because the employees that he had at this time were actually stealing from him. Like, while he was gone for 3 months, when he came over to Bulgaria to bring us over through the U.S. Embassy, his employees were literally stealing money behind his back. They were
Man,
just literally
horrible.
taking money away. And so when he got back, it was kind of like, what happened? Like, they were complaining about no money, no payroll, no business, and it's because they just weren't doing their jobs, you know? And so that business, you know, he closed it up. He actually sold it, and he broke even on it. He just broke even on it. And after that, for several years, he just worked odd jobs, you know, just, you know, trying to support the family. Now, he got into the trade, oh my God. So he's been in the trade for, I want to say, over 20 years now. So it wasn't too far after that. Long story short is he got into the trade, went through the journeyman program. So he became a journeyman as a floor layer, and he worked for a lot of different companies. And turned out he just had a neck for it. You know, he was just really, really good at his craft, very dedicated, very passionate. And then, so let's see, this is the 16th year that he's run his business. So he literally just started
Wow.
out by doing, you know, side gigs, you know, after work. Like, he'd do small bathroom jobs here and there on the weekends, you know, just to make some extra money, you know, on top of the job that he was doing. And then eventually, you know, he came about with two other guys who were very passionate, just like him. You know, they were very skilled. Also, they were in the trade business, and they talked about starting a business. Well, they sat down, they talked about it, and it looked like my father was literally the only one, or it appeared that he was really willing to give anything to make this business happen. Everyone else kind of wanted, you know, to get it served on a silver platter. So that's how his business started. Eventually, he just got so much business that he, you know, left his full-time job to make more money with what he was doing on the side, because people recognized, you know, recognize the quality, the craftsmanship, and that's what he's good at. The passion, the compassion he has, and to this day, 16 years later. So fast forward in 2015, you know, his business at this point was generating around $250,000 in gross revenue. This was just him, and he had 3 employees on payroll that they were just doing a lot of new construction homes. So what he does with his business is this, you know, one of his clients is this, so, you know, he'll walk into like a $2.5 million, you know, new construction, and it's like a family that had just bought, you know, a new home, and they'll say, well, we want a very custom, you know, bathroom designed with this specific tile and this and this and this. And maybe they'll like pull it out of Pinterest, because he's had a lot of clients who'll be like, oh, I saw this on Pinterest, you know, can you do that in my bathroom? And by the way, I have a 700 square foot bathroom that I want to put this in. So, you know, he was doing very, very well. Yeah. So he's been very fortunate in building some very strong local relationships, and that really has helped him, you know, skyrocket his business. And when I came into the picture, you know, we just really kind of sat down as a father and son, and I said, you know, how about if I can help you take your business to the next level? And here's what I would do. So I kind of made a proposal to him and saying, you know, I would tweak operations, I would tweak customer service, you know, I would do some marketing, build a new website, just really just the whole digital footprint, right? And my father agreed. You know, he said, okay, you know, what have you got to lose, right? But you have everything to gain, right? So literally over the course of that year is just that I helped him build a team of people. So we went from 3 to 6 employees, you know, on his crew. So this was his crew that were like helping him do the work that he was doing. And then, you know, we focused on new business, on customer service, really strengthening the digital footprint of his brand, and really bringing it into the modern day and age. And when we looked at the books year over year, you know, we were just like mind blown to see like the revenue. Like literally, we went from $250,000 in gross revenue to well over $500,000 in gross revenue And honestly, I could sit here and pat myself on the back and be like, great job, Ivan, but I didn't do it by myself. I had people who were there that were just as passionate and were willing to contribute to the why, because for a long time I couldn't understand what made my father's business thrive so much. It was his why, because it wasn't for him just to make money, or just to be successful, but it was for him because he wanted to build something that he believed in, but the why was because of his family. He wanted me and my sister and my mom, and the people around him to be able to be happy to do what they do. And so, that was one thing that I was very, very excited to have, and then what happened after that is this was actually right before I started my business, Razor Sharp Digital, because at that point, I had been 24 years in the digital space, doing digital marketing, social media. I started out when I was 14 years old in my father's pizza joint in his first, entrepreneurial endeavor. I was the kid that was on the computer. Like, I figured out how to use the software. Like, if the computer broke, I was fixing it because I learned how to fix it, And so, like, later on, yeah, exactly. So, that's, I guess, kind of, to answer your question, how I helped my father's business go, from where he was at to the next level. And from there, he just kind of took it over literally. I said, I still help him to this day. So 3 years later, I still have involvement on operations, on accounting, on some marketing also, but it's on a much smaller level. It wasn't like in 2015, I was working, 40, 50, 60, sometimes even close to 80 hours. This was before my now 2-year-old son and my 6-week daughter was obviously born. So I had a lot more time to do things and really devote my entire week to just helping my father. Because here's the thing about entrepreneurship that I have learned is this, that what I think makes every entrepreneurial great is if you can find your why and purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because I can guarantee you that long term, a business, a brand will fail if there's no clear why or purpose. Literally. I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, man, we got some comments coming in here too. We got Ashif. Hey, Ashif says hi. Mark Avery came in, and I don't know if he's still here, but he said that sounds exactly like his dad, and he was talking about the business that y'all were in, how that there's a lot of money in that business. Mark said that he can really relate to you because that's how his dad is. And Ula says your dad stayed focused and he's got the American dream to come true. It truly is an inspirational story, and that's true. It really is. Like you. I know that. Do you have a book about all of this?
So Tucker, just to answer Ula's comment is, the American dream today is whatever version you want it to be. I think the American dream is very commonly misconstrued because there is such thing as an American dream. Because my father is living the American dream. I mean, my father and my mother are in Key West right now celebrating their 41st wedding anniversary. Wow. Because my father worked over 2 decades, almost 3 decades at this point, tirelessly, relentlessly. Literally, just worked his ass off. Literally, there were times where he was frustrated. I mean, there were times where, there were times where he wanted to give up. There were times where he'd be like, "How am I gonna, pay my mortgage?" He had to refinance his house 3 times, just to get through like what he was doing. But now, like this year is probably the best year ever. And yes, it is an inspirational story. It is a story that I want to have in my book. And to answer your question about a book is, Tucker, you're probably the 5th person in the span of 3 years that has asked me about a book, literally, because I've only shared with you the Cliff Notes version of like who I am and, what's Ivan doing today. But there's so much more to share. There's so much more to share about my kids. Both of my kids are through IVF. We struggled for 3 years to conceive, and we prayed and prayed to the Lord and said, God, is this the end of it? Is this Like, are we not meant to have a family? And dude, I can't even begin to tell you both of my kids are two miracles alone, honestly. Two miracles that just complete blessing. And to this day, I wake up every morning and I wonder, I was just having a conversation with my wife not too long ago. I said, babe, we have two beautiful, healthy kids. Beautiful and healthy kids. Like, they're perfect in every way. I mean, what could more a human being and a father could ask for? So that is something that I will have in my book. And honestly, I probably need to just get it started. Honestly,
Yeah,
I've had too
got
many
best
people
time to
that have
start is
asked about
today.
it.
Best time to start is today. We got who's that come in? Mary Sterling just joined us. I appreciate you coming in, Mary. Thank you for joining us today on and for those of y'all who are just tuning in, this is episode number 4 of the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast. We're here with Ivan Temelkov. Did I say it right? Okay, cool. I got it
That's
right.
correct.
The first name is so hard to pronounce that I'm scared to even take a shot at it again. Ivaylo, is that right?
Ivaylo. Ivaylo.
Ivaylo. Okay. All right, cool. But yeah, Mr. Temelkov has taken his family's business from $250,000 to over $500,000 a year in annual revenue. He's a humanitarian, a podcaster, and he's worked with a lot of major companies. So what we're going to ask you now is, brother, I've got to know. So what is your hustle now? What is your business of the day? What is it that you do now?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, is just that I've been in the digital space for 24 years now. I'm 38 years old. I started at 14 years old, teaching myself how to build websites. Like when kids were out riding their bikes and shit, like I was like plugged into the computer, learning how to code. I was a freaking geek, dude. I was a nerd. I had long hair, I had big glasses, and I was probably very antisocial because, I was also bullied at that age. I was the kid that was kicked around the bus because I was different. I was called a foreigner. I was called fresh off the boat, and the names could go on and on and on. So what I'm doing these days is, so just to kind of give you a brief synopsis of like how my business came about is, when I started out in 14, I had curiosity of technology. I knew the internet was going to be the next best thing since sliced bread, like just a complete game changer. And so I immersed myself into it. I learned the skill sets. Then I got into it professionally in 2006 when I just literally jumped into a position, an entry-level position as an internet marketer. I learned how to build websites stronger. I learned how to write content. I learned about social media networks. I learned how to work with small businesses. Also, I talk to small businesses. I learned how to resonate with them, how to understand their mindset also. And so like from there, I guess I was just one of those people that, self-learner, self-taught, progressed through things really quickly. And the opportunities, I mean, God, I think, just blessed me with a lot of opportunities to open up new positions. I got to the corporate world. Then I worked with a lot of boutique agencies and startups that went from, zero to now 15, $20 million companies, that have companies like Microsoft and LinkedIn on their roster. Former bosses that still, message me on social media and say, wishing me to have a great day or a great week, like 7, 8 years later. I also taught at the university level. So being here in St. Louis, Missouri, at the University of Missouri in St. Louis, there was a new continued education program for digital media called UMSL Digital. So I was a part of that 6 years ago, being an adjunct professor to teach search engine optimization and search engine marketing. And this was just, the adjunct professor, or the assistant professor, excuse me, who was a transplant from NYU, reached out to me on Twitter and said, Ivan, you're just, dude, like, love your vibe. You have good clout. A lot of people say that you do what you say and you're result driven. And so I'm like, he invited me to come and teach. And I'm like, dude, I've never taught anything. Like, I dropped out of college. I barely graduated high school. And you're asking me to teach MBAs how to do the search engine marketing stuff, And like, so it was a true honor, man. It was a true honor to do that for 4 years. building a course from the ground up, literally just from the ground up of what I knew. And then after my father's business, I realized, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to do my own thing. And so here's the spiel is I have a company called Razor Sharp Digital, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
human marketing agency. We focus on helping brands become more human centric through omni-channel marketing and emotional engagement. If you go on Google and search for human marketing agency, you'll see me right there at the top. Now, the reason I branded my business as a human marketing agency is because when I was in the agency world, I saw too much over promising, not enough delivering, like too much fluff,
Mm-hmm.
too much. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later, like nothing, crickets, you know? And so I wanted to build a brand that was very emotionally engaged with customers and also work with brands to become more personal in the way they interact with their customers. So whether it's, building your podcast or building your website or building your blog, omnichannel, the reason why omnichannel is so important, I believe, is just that us as consumers, as human beings, we peruse multiple different channels nowadays. So we use Google, we use social media, we look at billboards, we read content in our decision-making process. Think about it. When you're buying a product or a service, right, as a consumer, you have some kind of an emotional attachment, right? You have a need.
Yeah.
Like when you're buying a car, for example, right? You need a new ride, right? You need a new set of wheels, but like how much are you willing to spend for it? So that's a need. That's an emotional attachment because you need transportation. So on the marketing and the business side is just that's what I'm focusing on is helping businesses become more personal in the way they interact with their customers on a very personalized level. And there's a lot of brands. I mean, we've seen, like the Toys R Us go out of business. Big, big, big brand. And a lot of other hundreds, thousands of other major brands go out of business because they
Bankrupt.
lack the personal approach. Bankrupt,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so,
So if somebody actually, I hate to interrupt you, but
sure.
if somebody wanted to jump in there and do what it is you're doing, if somebody wanted to learn about the business that you're in or even connect to you and learn how to do this, you said you mentioned about a course of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still teach anything? And if so, how can someone get into this niche?
Sure, absolutely. So there's a few things to do. First of all, I'm actually working on an e-learning platform currently, and that's more of like the long-term goal because this is probably going to be a year project. And what it is it's going to be very similar to like a Linda, where you can take a course on like a specific skill set. Like if you want to learn how to do social media, but you just need like a very condensed, truncated course, or if you want to learn how to be strategic with your blogging, or if you want to learn how to build a podcast, because I have a podcast, I built the podcast from the ground up. And so I've gone through the nuances of understanding. So that platform, which I'm calling the Human Marketing Alliance, will be available
Mm-hmm.
probably by the end of this year. And that's going to be mobile friendly. So you're going to be able to sit on your phone and take this course and only for a couple of $100. You're going to be able to acquire a targeted skill set that can help you in your business. Now, what I also do is I do consulting also as well in that specific space. In fact, I'm doing a lot of that nowadays where I have a lot of people like solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, new business owners, or people that are maybe in business, within the first 5 years that like maybe they're doing some stuff good, but they can't find.
Breaking up a little bit. Still there, bud? Uh-oh. He's frozen. Is he frozen to everybody else? What happened? Did we lose him? Y'all drop in the comments if I'm frozen, let me know. If he's frozen, let me know because he's I don't see him. I think. Oh yeah, we lost him. Oh, that is no fun. But he'll come right back on, I'm sure. Man, that is just awesome. Like, I mean, listen what this guy's doing. He stepped in there. His father came over here from a different country and put everything on the line. And I think that's the key to the entrepreneurial mindset, is being willing to put everything on the line in a single moment to get something done, because you believe in something greater than yourself. Okay, we got him back here. Okay, we are bringing him back in. All right, so yeah. Okay, yeah. So Mark said it's his. I guess, hey, you're excellent secretary. It's all good. But hey, you were talking about how you teach people how to do this kind of stuff, and how somebody, if they wanted to get into the industry, what
Yeah.
what kind of steps would they take?
So there's multiple ways, to get into this. Is just that, first of all, is just that there's a lot of people who tried the DIY approach, like, they try to learn it on their own. Which, look, if you are one of the DIYers, in fact, I was those people. I learned everything basically on my own. I took some courses here and there for continued education, but for the most part, it was self-taught. Now, what I would recommend, just to save you time and money long term, is just that I provide consulting currently. Now, until the Human Marketing Alliance is ready, then you're going to be able to take those specific courses around different skill sets. But, I recommend, working with people. Everything that I do starts out with conversations. So I'm not the type of guy that says, okay, let's do coaching or let's do consulting, and here's what I'm going to do in the digital space. I always start out with understanding the needs of my clients. So
Mm-hmm.
understand, do you have a business, or do you have a product, or do you sell a service, or what is it that you do, and how can I help you? Because the one thing that I have discovered over many years is that there's a lot of brands out there, a lot of individuals who just come out, guns blazing and say, I can do this, this, and this, without assessing the problem, without knowing what they're really dealing with. And so I kind of work backwards from that, as I try to find out what every individual or every business owner is doing and what their needs are, and then work backwards from there to help them. Whether it's consulting, giving them knowledge on, like, let's say they want to build a new website, or they need a marketing plan, or they need a social media strategy, or they need to do a competitor analysis, whatever is most suitable, and I feel that it's best fitting. So I consult based on that. And typically what happens is 99% of the time is I get hired as a result, because, if you Google my name, like, I already give so much free content out there. There's blog
Yeah.
posts, there's my podcast, I have a YouTube channel as well. I've got a Facebook page, I've got my business a page as well. I'm on Instagram as well. So I'm all over the place, because you almost have to be nowadays. If you want to penetrate and dominate in the digital space, you almost have to be in a lot of different places, not just one place.
Yeah, you do. You have to dominate your space. That's what Grant Cardone teaches all the time. He said,
Yep.
I know that Uncle G said, I used to send out a newsletter once a month, and people were complaining that we sent out a newsletter too much. And he was like, so let's double it up. And they're like, what? You're crazy. He's like, man, we need them haters, man. We need people talking about us.
Yep.
We need people hating us, because here's
Yep.
the thing. The more people that hate you, the more haters you have, the more people are talking about you, because a hater will take time out of their day to discuss
Yep.
you and spread your
Yep.
name and talk about you. Because even if you're talking bad about me, you're getting eyes on me, baby. You're getting
Yep.
me out there. So
Yep.
hate me. If you only got one hater today, you need 10 by the end of the year. And that's what I'm working on, man. I'm trying to get them haters. I know I love people loving me, but hey, I love me some haters.
Well, there's
All
two
right.
things that I wanted to mention about haters, because you brought up a really interesting topic. Jay Bear has a book called Hug Your Haters. I would recommend this to anyone to read, just even entrepreneurs, business owners. You don't have to be in the marketing space, because it talks about the logic behind what you just said is haters. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is as the saying goes, is keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Honestly, that is so true in business and marketing specifically. And here's why. It's because, first of all, you never want to build any bridges. That is just, unless it's like a life or death situation, you never want to build any bridges. That's probably one of the biggest advices that I have learned, and especially in the social media spaces, is that sometimes you just got to cave in and tolerate some people, because
Yeah.
maybe they're more opinionated, or they don't have the same mentality that you do, but generally they're probably good people, but maybe behind your back they're like, they're trash talking you,
Well,
so
that's why I've always told people that look, that bridges get built a lot of times whether we try or not. But they say don't burn your bridge. Well, of course not. Don't
right,
burn bridges. Take them apart and take the best pieces from them to build your Golden Gate. So
exactly,
you want your own personal, whether it be connected to something personally or connected to a bigger place, like the Golden Gate Bridge connects a massive area to another massive area. It's not a bridge connecting a massive area to one person's house. It's
right,
they didn't burn a bridge to get that one. They took pieces that they took the best of the best when it came to all the pieces, put it together, and got the biggest and best bridge that they could. So I can understand your concept of don't even build bridges, and you don't have to. If you can, but you can tear down the bridges that get built regardless, and you can build a castle if you want to out of it. Whatever you got to do, but don't
yep,
burn opportunities. Don't burn relationships. Reconstruct them.
right,
So I have to ask you, brother. I got two questions coming up, and both of them are zingers. Both of them are kind of hard. So
okay.
but I don't think you're gonna have very much trouble with them. First of all, what, real short, what does staying humble really mean to you?
Ooh, man, there's so many things to say about this. Is just that probably the best thing that I can say to that in answer is just that stay focused. Stay focused, in a sense that really focus on the things that matter, and do it in an efficient way. Do it in a very strategic way to where you're driving towards your why and purpose. That's what humble is to me, is because, you know, I think before even meeting you and being on your podcast, which by the way, I'm very grateful to be here today. I wasn't in that mentality. In my 20s, I was living life. I was going through life with not necessarily any goals. Like, didn't know where I was going, and it probably wasn't until in my late 20s, my early 30s, when I literally started realizing that life is beautiful, but it can only be beautiful if you know how to appreciate it. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
mine just opened up and realized that I can be anyone I want to be. You know, I mean, I lived in a materialistic world where I was like, I was boxed, I was packaged, I was labeled and weighed by people. That's the world that I
Mm-hmm.
lived in. And so, humble to me is staying true to your purpose and your why, and being
There we go.
ambitious about it. And that, in fact, if you have, in fact, one of my newest employees, my sales guy, the reasons why he's joining me is because, dude, I love your why, and I love the fact that you're so humble and ambitious towards it. I could care less how good of a marketer or business person you are. The fact that you have that why and that purpose is what excites me to work with you. And dude, you can build castles, you can build empires if you stay humble and you have a why and a purpose.
Stay humble, hustle hard, baby. Hey, that's why I
Yep,
got it tatted on my arm. It's a reminder every day. As a
there you
reminder,
go.
stay humble, hustle hard, baby. But look here, this is the real zinger here. Gotta ask you. So get ready. If you had 5 minutes to live, if you want to leave the world with anything, if you had 5 minutes to live
hmm
and the entire world could hear you speak, what would be your message?
If I had five, you cut out a little bit there. You said if I had five. Can you repeat the question one more time?
If you had 5 minutes to live, and
hmm
that's it, I got people blowing me up. You had 5 minutes to live, and the entire world could hear you speak. what would you say to the world? What would you leave them with?
I would probably want to leave the world with the best of me, of what I think would inspire and encourage humanity to be better. There's a reason why I've labeled myself as a humanitarian, is because I know that humanity in long term could potentially create our own demise, because we are very interesting creatures. We're the most sophisticated creatures in the universe, at least to our knowledge. But as human beings, we can be very selfish also at times. And so what I would want to leave the world with is the best of me and what I've learned in life, to be able to, if I can only impact one person's life, that's what I would want to do, because that one person, it will create a chain effect with many other people. That's
Well,
really
you
the
got
best
5
thing.
minutes to impact that one person. You got 5 minutes to impact them. How are you gonna do it?
Oof, that's tough, man. You're
Well,
really prying here. All right, let me
hey,
think
that's
about
what I'm
this for a
going for,
second.
man. This is
Yeah,
that zinger. This is that
yeah.
question that this really, really, really breaks it down and defines your purpose, your why,
Hmm.
and your true message to the world. Because you only got 5 minutes.
Yep.
How well are you going to invest in those few seconds
Sure.
that you have in each minute? So you got 5 minutes. What's your message to the world?
Probably the biggest thing I would say is this, to one person, is say, be yourself. You know, be yourself, because I wasn't myself. I was a kid. I was troubled growing up. I wanted to be a part of the cool crowd and the social clique, because I was seeking acceptance, and that's a human thing. Is we want to be accepted as human beings. So the 5 minutes I would say is, be yourself, do what you love, do what you're passionate about. Don't worry about what the world thinks about you. That's probably really the key message that I would share.
That's beautiful, brother. Well, I really, 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 really appreciate you. It truly has been an honor to have you on the show, man. You dropping them jewels and diamonds off and dropping all that value. Y'all down in the comments. Look, let me show him some love. Drop down in the comments. What do you think about this amazing interview? This was awesome. Like I said, man, you were awesome. I couldn't have asked for any better. So I'm gonna drop you off here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish it out and get to talking to everybody. Thank you so very much for joining
Thanks,
us on the
Tucker.
Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast, brother.
I appreciate it. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode number 4 of the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast, where we interview the men and women that are building this country one business at a time, so you can learn how to get your hustle on. Each and every person has a message, and every message has a purpose. Here, that message gets heard. Now, I'm sure when we tell Telemkov will drop all his contact information down below, so that you can get in touch with him, get his Facebook, YouTube, his next book that's coming out, might be even able to pre-order that. Now, if you would like me to speak at your event, because I am a public speaker, all you have to do is hit me up on Facebook, message me on there. Don't forget to like the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast page. Go over there, check it out. Check out our offers. I'm actually launching a new product line, the Stay Humble Hustle Hard product line. You'll be able to get t-shirts, hats, beach towels, the whole 9 yards. But most importantly, I want y'all to put down in the comments what you took from this interview. What did you get from it? And what would you like to be seen on the next episode of the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast? If you would like to be a guest on the show, all you got to do is message me and hit me up. Tell me your why. What is it why are you here? What is your purpose? And we will schedule you a day to be on the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast. And don't forget, on September 20th, I will be the Power Symposium in Chicago at the beautiful Stan Mansion, with 12 other very dynamic speakers. I will be speaking to the power of tranquility, where I teach people how the most important decisions you will ever make are those that are made when your life is within its greatest turmoil. So don't forget to go to powerofwesymposium.com, get your tickets, and come and join us as we speak to over 250 at-risk youth from the Chicagoland area, and we show them that they deserve to have a dream too. You know, there is more out there than the darkness that they've seen. So what I'm going to leave you with is what I always leave you with, ladies and gentlemen. That is, be the blessing for others and you will live within blessings. And always, always remember that without your darkness, the light would hold no value. Can't wait to see y'all on Mondays, the next edition, episode 5 of the Stay Humble Hustle Hard podcast. Join us Monday at 10 a.m. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for joining.